Welcome back, it is Sam from Samuel Lloyd & Co. Super excited for this one. One of our first Holy Grail finds for 2025. It was found late last year. We've finally got it to market. It is a 1995 300 TDI finished in Epsom Green, county specification with the matching body coloured arches and sunroof. Interesting history. So first registered in August 96 in Saarland, Germany, to a company called Euro 1 who ran the medium wave transmitter station in Saarland, which is a little squeeze point between Luxembourg, France and Germany. So interesting history. You can find out all about it on the site. But yeah, first transmitter station for medium wave radio. It was one of their fleet vehicles, done very low mileage, 48,000 miles, spent most of its time just transporting people from the organisation around to different transmitter stations. So it moved around a few subsidiaries of Broadcasting Centre Europe. So it was originally owned by the German subsidiary Europe 1, and then they decommissioned that transmitter station in 2020 and it moved back to the headquarters in Luxembourg. We were lucky enough to pick it up late last year. So effectively only one owner or one organisation that have owned it, but a few registrations between Germany and Luxembourg. Really exceptional condition. We haven't gone very deep on changing things up because it was such a holy grail find. So we've done some stainless steel bits for the bonnet hinges, for the wing top vent covers. We've changed end caps, some stainless steel fixings on the grills, new heavy duty steering arms and a Bilstein steering damper. The wheels are original, haven't been refurbished. The paint is original. We haven't painted anything. We haven't even done the hinges. We've left it very original, inviting anyone who's got a direction they want to go in to work with us. It seemed a shame to go too deep before we found the right customer, but it's all stuff we can do. So original mud flaps, the paint is original and it shows its age in places. So bits of oxidization on the lower sills where the steel brackets for the mud flaps join. Obviously with these Defenders, any area where the aluminium is mounted directly to the steel causes reaction, but didn't want to do any paint given its original vehicle till we've got sort of a clear vision with a customer. Hinges original, haven't done stainless steel bolts yet. So if you're ever looking at a restored Defender, you might see that the spot welds aren't there because it's quite hard to replicate the spot welds when you're doing a restoration. Often people just bond the panel to the tub and then you've got a flat finish. Interestingly, a lot of people don't realise that they're meant to be there. They think that they're a dent, but they're not. Original fuel label, another good sign that it's not been exposed to a lot of sun because the diesel fuel hasn't faded, which often is the case. Again, all the spot welds here are meant to be there as part of connecting the panel to the tub. Wheels, they're not being refurbished and they've got signs of reaction on the alloy, all stuff that we can do. The chassis is really good. It's been undersealed and that's definitely protected it well. It was clearly undersealed early on because you can see bits that are flaking and you can see like the factory finish beneath. No structural works happened. All the outriggers are great, as well as the rear cross member. Cappings are in really good condition. Often they get, knocked about here. This reverse light's certainly original. We've refinished the cross member and then fitted stainless bolts and washers, which is just a nice touch. The door has probably got the worst galvanic reaction on the vehicle. So you can see bits here. Again, we can change it. So that's not a problem. So don't let that put you off. But with this vehicle, we didn't want to go a direction, I've said this again, until we'd, found a customer who might have a prescribed direction they want to go in, because there's so many different routes you can go. So what we've been doing recently with a lot of restorations is fitting a TD5 door. You'll probably have seen it if you've been looking around for Defenders, but it's got the same sort of window seal. So the window pops in and out. And the benefit of doing that with the TD5 door, TD5/Puma door, is you can then utilize a Puma TD5 key barrel. And then what we can do is we can do a Puma ignition barrel conversion and the car will start and open all the doors on one key, which is a really nice practical touch. There's a lot of people complain because often barrels will get changed over the years and you end up with three keys, potentially, one for each door and an ignition key. So you've got 4 keys, which is a bit of a pain. And then the other benefit of the TD5 door is you get a reinforced wheel holder, which is a lot more integral and doesn't put so much strain on the door itself, which is a nice option if you don't want to go for a heavy duty carrier that's mounted on the cross member. So it's all those sort of things that there's quite a few options we can go, but I would definitely suggest anyone that's considering this vehicle gets us to redo the door because there's quite a lot of oxidization and we can match it up very nicely with the original paint. Okay, so taking a look inside, we have done a new rear door card, which is quite prone to wearing. We'll do a close-up, but the bottom of the door is actually in really fab condition. Although it's not that important, because I've just said how easy it is to change the door, it's a good indicator of the structural condition elsewhere, because the bottom of this is steel. If you think practically, you obviously got, when you're driving, there's a lot of water getting thrown up from the road towards the rear cross member, including the door. So if it's rusted, it's a bit of an indicator of where else rust might be, but this one's very solid. There's tiny bits on the corner to be expected, but quite often you'll see just lots of holes on the bottom. But again, I wouldn't be scared if you see that, because it's a very prone area based on what's coming up from the road. And then if you've got that, it's often the cross member will be in a similar situation. So coming in, we've done a new entry plate. Always a good idea to screw these in, rather some people rivet them, but screwing's better because the mat goes underneath. So if you ever want to change the mat, you can just unscrew it, change the mat. But we've done a Land Rover genuine mat in the back. We've fitted new benches with grey vinyl covers. We haven't done seat belts. We can do them, but primarily because this was originally van county cross. So it had the county decals, the sunroof, painted arches, but it didn't have any seating in the rear. So it was more of a commercial specification. And obviously doing the seat belts, you've got to drill a lot of holes into the tub. So not something we want to do until we've sort of got the green light from who's buying it, because might not be what everyone wants. But it's something that we can easily do, fit lap belts. Moving up, we've got retrimmed the ceiling in a sort of medium light grey Alcantara, and then also rewrapped the sun visors, which I think works really well. It's just very durable. Whereas the original one, if you have dirty fingers, mark it, it's quite obvious with the sort of vinyl head covering. Got grab handles here to get in. Haven't got a step, but again, something we can fit. Pretty handy to have a step, or even a NAS rear step. And then again, if you do the NAS step, you can get your tow hitch, and you can get your North American tow hitch, which is handy. So coming around to the front, door cards are in really good condition. Often people cut things into them. There's fixings because the clips have snapped, but not the case here. All perfect, all matching grey, match the rear door cover, which we've replaced. Heater functions. You've got your very, what's the word? Primitive heating system, but it works. So these handles here direct your flow upwards and downwards, and then in theory, the amount of heat. This one's had ashtray delete at some point, so it's just got a little tray. So good indicator that it's probably been, I say probably, it hasn't, there's no smell of smoke in here, so it's not been smoked in. We've got a new cubby box, grey to match the seats and the rear benches. Sunroof, you've got your light here, rear mirror, obviously, and then you've got your Alcantara visors. Low range, high range, I'm sure most people will be familiar with that. And then you've got the 5-speed R380 gearbox with the LT230 transfer case, which are all working well. Handbrake, got your vent handles here, which open the vents on the bulkhead for sort of natural airflow. We've got the original vinyl covering is in pretty decent shape around the seat box, which is nice to see. And then behind here, you've got your tool, your jack. And 77,000 kilometers, so about 48,500 miles. So very, very low. I think what we'll do now is we'll pop the bonnet and go and show you the engine. Final section of the walk around, the engine bay. So if you've watched many of these videos, you'll probably be becoming accustomed to what's under here, but I'll walk you through it. So you've got your radiator, intercooler, viscous fan, fuel filters here, coolant tank, expansion tank, washer bottle, and then this one at the back is your heater box. People wondering about air conditioning, there's two ways to go. You can do an under dash unit, which is sort of factory OEM, then you get a compressor here, and under dash system, which the fans are separate from the heater. So both systems operate independently of one another. So in theory, you can actually run them both at the same time, which is a bit odd. And then the other option you can do is Ministry of Defenders do a combined heater and AC box. So it replaces your heater box, and then the AC flows through the heater fan and through the heater hoses, and then comes out the same vents. The good setup with that is you're obviously getting improved heater and AC, whereas if you go for the underdash AC, you're not getting any improvement on the heater. Disadvantage is it comes out of the original vents, which are not amazingly positioned, so they obviously flow upwards and downwards, whereas the underdash kit, the AC is coming directly at you. But yeah, they're two options if people need AC. They're the two options to go. Very happy to talk. Just get in touch, we can go through it in more detail. Being a 95, it's a non-EGR valve model. So this plate here you can see above the turbo and manifold would, if it was the EGR one, you would have a thing coming out here monitoring and recirculating the exhaust gases, and then you'd have a very small sort of primitive ECU to control that. A lot of people delete those on the later vehicles. So yeah, it's definitely a preference not to have it because it just restricts power and flow. And then you've got your power steering here. It says ZE on it for the manufacturer. Nice engine bay to work on because everything's easily in reach without having to disassemble much. You can see your steering column. Good thing to check if you ever inspect one personally is just have a pull on the steering joints to see if there's any play. This one's as rigid as anything, and that can indicate that you've either got some play in the steering box or play in the actual column. So I think what we'll do now is we'll close it up and we'll take it for a drive and show you what it's all about. Good day to test the heater, and you'll hear it in action, and you'll be able to see from my expression if it's working or not. Wait for the coil light to go out, and then fires into action. Handbrake, you've got your brake light here and parking light. So we'll drop that, light goes out, heater on, nice and warm. And away we go. That was first and second now. What I might do is I'll just turn the heater off just in case it creates too much cabin noise. Third. That's fourth. So that's 60 kilometers an hour, just dropping down a bit. So yeah, the suspension's very soft, not hard, but doesn't feel wallery at all. And I'd say sort of when you get over 60 kilometers an hour, that's when you can, go into fifth gear. And we're coming up for a bump into third, go into second. So that's second, third, fourth, get into fifth gear. So we haven't rebuilt the steering box or done anything with the steering column and linkage, but it's very accurate. So you only have to make a very small input on the steering and you turn. Whereas when they're quite high mileage and worn, there's a lot of movement on the steering and not much happens.
What about the brake system?
We'll give that a go. So we're coming up to a bump now. Yeah. So another thing to look out for is if it's not braking in a straight line, it's quite likely that one of the calipers is binding, which is not uncommon, but not the case here.